This episode is brought to you by Hasa. Liquid is clearly better. Liquid chlorine is the highest purity, works immediately, has no added cyanuric acid or calcium, and it will leave your pool safe, clean, and clear. And by the bottom feeder professional grade battery powered vacuum system. It sucks to clean pools, so cleaning pools sucks less. Get $100 off with code DVB100.
This episode is brought to you by Skimmer, the #1 pool service software in North America. With Skimmer, you can streamline your schedule, grow your revenue, and keep your customers coming back with 5-star service. Whether you're a one-person operation or an established team, Skimmer is your partner in success. Visit getskimmer.com/poolguy to try Skimmer for free for 30 days.
The Pool Guy Podcast Show. The Pool Guy Podcast Show. The Pool Guy Podcast Show.
Hi, welcome to the Pool Guy Podcast Show. In today's episode, I'll be continuing my conversation with Niki, Acosta, and Denbar of Skimmer. And today we're going to talk about how your pool service business has value. It's an asset, actually, that has tangible value. And we're also going to address, of course, the private equity companies coming into the industry. Is this a good thing or is this a bad thing? And how Skimmer can actually be used to protect your business and make it more of a tangible asset also at the same time. Are you a pool service pro looking to take your business to the next level? Join the Pool Guy coaching program. Get expert advice, business tips, exclusive content, and get direct support from me. I'm a 35-year veteran in the industry. Whether you're starting out or scaling up, I've got the tools to help you succeed. Learn more at swimmingpoollearning.com. And I think pool owners should also realize that their company is an asset. It's not like you're cleaning pools and you have 80 accounts. That actually has value. And a lot of pool pros don't look at the aspect of, okay, am I going to do this forever? And how can I attest to this? Are you going to be out there servicing pools till you're 60 years old and you can barely grab a pole because the arthritis is so bad? What's the future for you? And you have a sellable asset. So let's talk a little bit about implementing software to help increase, of course, your company and growth, but also to, on the other end of it, really retain the fact that you have a business that's an asset and it is a sellable product.
Yeah, Hal, you want to take that one?
Yeah, so that's a really important one because I've been through the process of buying many businesses in this industry, and I can tell you that as we go through due diligence, which is where we're like really turning over every rock and looking under everything to look for anything that may jump up and bite us when we buy a company. The software it's on is actually really important because really when somebody's buying a pool service company, what they're buying your people, your customers, and your data. And the software really, clearly holds the data and it's the linchpin for your employees and your customers. And so, for us, like there were no bigger nightmare experiences than we would buy a company that had built their own software or was just using something that was very unconventional. Because for us, one of the biggest parts of the value we're acquiring is the data. Who knew what kind of problems we were going to find trying to extract that data, enrich that data, actually use and analyze that data. And so that's where, it would give us so much comfort. And therefore, it's easy to justify adding value to a company when you know that, okay, data is 100% secure, locked down, we can do exactly what we want with it. There's no question marks there. So, I think moving on to a platform like Skimmer really materially increases the value of your company, apart from just like it, making your life easier and more sane. I mean, and you can actually go make more money because you have real data you can effectively analyze and use for your own purposes. It's a really material thing when you go to sell a company, what system you're on and how secure your acquirer knows your data is.
I was going to say there's a chance that a big company would be more interested in you too. I mean, certain areas, I know there's different companies acquiring companies out there. And like you mentioned, having kind of like an electronic paper trail where the company knows that this is actually a real account that you've been servicing for 3 or 4 years. It's not something that you just took on board to get some money for. I really think that you have to be aware that someone could call you one day and say, hey, I would like to acquire your company. can I, are you interested in what kind of books do you have, or what kind of, can I, if we're going to go further, we need to have records. So I think that should always be in the back of the mind of the pool companies out there too, that if you get big enough, someone's going to want to probably come in and acquire you eventually. And it seems to be something happening all over certain states like Florida and Texas. I wouldn't say epidemic, but it's something where it should be on the radar of the pool pro, right?
Mhm. And not only, I think is the value in knowing, okay, me as the acquirer, I have easy access to and can manipulate that data. A lot of times you don't know what the person buying you has in store next, right? They may be thinking immediately, I only want to buy this company because I'm already talking to the company next door to them. I need to move all of their customers onto this company, next month. Is the home cooked system you're on able to all of a sudden double or triple you overnight? Because they may be thinking that, and that may be a factor in how they're valuing you. So it's not only, current state of data, it's, you may need to be, a platform is what we call it, the business that's going to be built upon, and you don't know what the future steps are. They're already thinking ahead to that your system may not be capable of, and therefore they're evaluating that you're not capable of.
Mm-hmm. It's also a good sales point if you're just a single poler selling 80 of your, selling your whole route to somebody else. They're like, I've been using this software for the last 4 years, and here's all the data of all the customers. I mean, that makes you look like a legitimate business versus, yeah, here's my list of customers. It's like a printout, from Word document, and it has, whatever, and I think that makes you legitimate. And I think it also makes you legitimate to your customers. And my HVAC guy is a good example. He's an old school guy, and I really like his business, and I use him for everything when I need work done on properties. But I keep telling him, you want to ever try some software? Because he calls me for my credit card number still. I'm like, I know there's some software out there you can use. He's like, yeah, I mean, I'll get to it eventually, but this seems to be working for me now. To me, if he ever wanted to sell his business, I mean, that's not legitimate enough. It's like, you need some kind of software, and the customers also see that on our end, like, hey, this guy's not using any kind of software. I mean, how does he, if something happens to him, how am I going to get service later? No one has any records of anything that he's done for me. So I really think that from the standpoint of the other end of it, the customer facing part of it, you using software and them knowing that you have this routing software is a big deal. Let's go back to the larger companies that are acquiring the small ones, because I think this is one of those things where it is controversial and everyone has a different opinions on it. Fortunately, in California, or unfortunately, I guess, in a lot of cases, a lot of these big companies can't come in here and do what they're doing because we're so anti, what's the word I'm looking for? Big
Because of
business, I guess.
your regulatory environment.
Yeah, that's a better way of phrasing it. We call it the nanny state, and so it's one of those things where you have to live with it. We get sunshine 300 days out of the year, and we have the beach and mountains within an hour drive in most cases, but we have to pay for it somehow, right? But this
I
big,
will been a barrier for a while. It's not so much anymore. They're
okay,
old folks venturing forth into California now. I mean, I know a handful of them, and they're doing a really good job. So
okay.
California is no longer the untouched frontier for this consolidation in the industry.
And I think it's moving at a rapid pace. I think that if, depending on which side you fall on, if you like the fact that these companies are moving in, it happens in the pest control industry with Terminix and other industries. HVAC industries are feeling this a little bit too. And plumbers, of course, always had this, the big companies. Pool industry, we never had to really worry about this or even think about it. And I wouldn't say that it's a bad thing or a good thing at this point because it is something relatively new. But if you want to address these concerns that maybe a single polar has, of being kind of boxed out price wise by the bigger companies, or someone who's thinking about signing their pool route, if they actually get a phone call from one of these companies, is it something that they should consider selling?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a I have some bias, but the bias was really rooted in my true belief, and I think the vision for what this can do for the industry, which is why roughly 5 years ago I jumped in and helped spearhead one of the first movers in this evolution of the industry. And for me, I think historically, you go to trade shows, you go to an IPSA meeting, you're talking with other pool people. The biggest thing is always like, why? why are we the redheaded stepchild of the trades, right? Like why can't we hire good people? Why can't we charge as much as the other trades? And it was really sort of chicken or egg, right? Like we'd never had large professional enterprises that, in order to be a large professional enterprise, had to pay their people well, had to train them really well, had to provide a safe environment, had to provide technology and education and all these things that bear out professionalism, which then bear out esteem in the eyes of the consumer, which then bears out being able to charge higher prices, then you can pay your people more. And so, back then I was really excited about, okay, I want to jump in and help try to start this evolution, right? Like it's going to be a slog, but somebody's got to do it. And we can keep complaining about this forever, but until we try something to solve it, nothing's going to change. And, from my seat, I've seen a lot of change in the last 5 years in terms of the professional expectation of our customers. Prices have continued to move up. We've got better trained people. We're attracting better people into this industry because this is the coolest trade. I mean, if you're trades oriented and you want to be in an attic in, Phoenix, Arizona, when it's 110 outside working on the HVAC, or you want to be overlooking a negative edge pool at Camelback Mountain, like to me, that's a no brainer. And we just got to make everything else fit in that ideal employee's eyes for them to see it. And, so I think to me, consolidation, it's making everything we do more valuable. It's making our businesses more valuable, our people more valuable, the knowledge that we have more valuable. I mean, I was cleaning backyards for a decade or cleaning pools in people's backyards for a decade. Now I'm on the board of directors of a tech company. Like that wouldn't have happened 5 years ago, right? Like what we have, the knowledge we have as pool people is becoming really valuable in this economy. And it's a result of getting more traction, getting more dollars into this industry. And to me, it's going to just continue to snowball, make everything we do more valuable.
And the Pool Guy Podcast Show has teamed up with UPA to bring you affordable, reliable liability insurance starting at just $64 a month. Get up to $2 million in coverage, and the members of my coaching group get an even lower rate. Protect your business and your peace of mind. Sign up with UPA today by clicking the link in the podcast description.
And I would say for the
age of AI is sort of reinforcing that, right? You got lots of finance guys graduating from Ivy League schools or wanting to start pool companies. Like that wasn't going to happen 10 years ago, right? Like we sort of are the future of the economy as tradespeople. And again, I go back to my thesis: pool is the coolest trade there is if people knew about it.
I think the other sort of piece of this too is it seems to be pretty AI proof, right? Like home services in general are still going to require people to go out and do things with, all kinds of variables and factors. And, not every, pool pad is alike. Not every pool is situated, in the same climate with the same materials. And that variability is going to necessitate, humans to come out and be able to assess and make judgments, to be able to, build, repair, treat, balance pools. And it is, I think the trades just in general, along with, some other ones that Anthropic came out with were like, the healthcare field. There are certain industries that are going to be less prone to being wiped out by AI, and pool service is absolutely one of them.
Mm-hmm. And so you think
one of the potential you threw out, David, too, about like getting boxed out with pricing and things like that. I'd be shocked if anybody has actually found that in real life, right? I mean, I know for the last 5 years, we raised prices a lot more aggressively than if I was a small business. I know a lot of the private equity competitors are doing that because to support the corporate overhead and all the new jobs they're bringing in to support these businesses in the back end, they have to raise prices. And as a result, I think you go to any city where private equity's touched it, those private equity backed companies are probably the most expensive companies in the town, and they're for sure not the cheapest. They may not be the most expensive, but they're up there. And it actually gives air cover to all these small businesses out there to, if they're paying attention, to go raise their prices and provide a better standing of living for them and their people.
And do you think it's a good idea to sell to one of these private equities if you let's say you had a company and you're running it for 10 years and they approach you, you have a pool out of 200 pools. I mean, what would be stopping somebody from selling to one of these private equities?
I mean, I can't think of what would, right? I mean, if they're willing to give you the best deal of anybody, willing to acquire your business, Like, they're going to run it really well because that's what they do professionally. They're going to treat your people well because, like I said, the people, what we're buying your people, your customers, and your data. Because if they come in and buy your company and force all your people out or lose all your people quickly, like they bought nothing. They just wasted their money, right? So to me, it's created this avenue for exit. I know when I was running Patriot Pool and Spa before National Pool Partners, I just assumed I was going to have to build a business so big that somebody'd be willing to buy it based on just the size of the business because there was no big pool company that was ever going to buy me. And now there's that outlet, right? You can build any size business and get a return on all the time and effort you put into it at any point because they're willing buyers that are going to buy it, and it is in their best interest to do everything they can to treat it as well as possible. Otherwise, they just wasted a lot of money.
Yeah, interesting. Because I think a lot of pool pros do feel like if they do sell to like another individual, which does happen, they start to lose customers and lose, because we do care about our customers to beyond the point of business. We don't want Mr. Jones or, Mrs. Smith not be happy with us kind of selling their asset, their pool to someone else, and then they drop the ball. Customers, I don't think a lot of customers out there really know that the pool company that, well, I have a friend that he had an old pool guy, and then he's like, "Hey, there's this young guy coming to my house now," and he said something about selling his route or something. But I have no idea what he was talking about. But now there's this young guy coming, so at that end of it, they don't have a lot of insight on this. So the pool pro really needs to understand, like I mentioned at the very beginning, your business is an asset; it has value to it. And whether you sell to a big company or whether you have them coming into your area, I really think you're right that it does elevate the pricing because you're competing already with Leslie's Pool Supply or Pinch a Penny that they do installs and equipment, and their prices are usually always higher than what you can sell that to the customer for. So I really don't think you're going to be boxed out. I think what a lot of pool pros are afraid of is the marketing juggernaut that these companies have, the money they have behind their marketing to push in their area, where if you're going out to bid a pool, they probably already had been bid by one of these bigger companies. And so that's, I think, the biggest problem or the biggest fear, I should say, is that you can't market as well as these big companies market themselves.
Yeah, there's something to that, right, in terms of marketing budgets. But I think to the counter of that, right? I know as I was growing Patriot, we spent almost nothing on marketing. Like we were a local business that basically went out and fought for referrals, right? And local businesses are always going to do that better than a big conglomerate. Like that's not even a fair fight. The conglomerates don't try to do that because that's not their game, right? So really, and a lot of times, we may go out and talk to a customer as a big company. Not every customer is a fit for every company, right? Like there are a lot of customers that want the personal touch a big company can't provide.
Mhm.
And so, I think there's plenty of pie for everybody. There's sort of, specific niches that every type of company we've discussed fit into. And I don't think that it necessarily pulls massively from each other because I think they're sort of fighting over two different kinds of customers. And that's where even AI call agent, like I said, we for sure spent a lot more marketing than a lot of local companies. And we knew we weren't always the first call, right? We were getting that customer because the smaller companies weren't picking up the phone.
Yeah. And tying it back to Skimmer, I think if you are a small company and you want to compete against the big fish out there, having this AI service is great because I can't tell you for myself, if I'm calling for a plumber or a new service, if they don't pick up the phone, I'll call someone else. And if I see a call back from them, I'm already talking to someone else at that point, and you've lost that lead. And this is the kind of day and age where, I mean, you're kind of like from my generation. If your friend wasn't home, you'd leave a note on the door or, tell his parents, hey, have Billy call me, or whatever. And then it went to where like you had pagers, people would page you, and then people would get cheap and page a code because they don't want to pay for anything, you know. And then you have cell phones and texting. But now it's like if you don't get back to someone or pick up the phone within 30 seconds, they've already moved on to someone else. We're in that kind of, this is the mentality of everyone now, 30 seconds, 1 minute, that's it.
If you look
Yeah,
at generic studies across home services, the number one most important thing to customers is who calls me, who can I reach the fastest? It's not price. It's not like, oh, they're right next door to me. It's not quality of their reviews. That might be why they try calling you first. But the most important thing why they choose a company is who called them back first or who picked up the phone.
Mm-hmm.
And David, I'll just add that's just one aspect that's a part of Skimmer, right? It is routing, it is customer communication, it is all of the payments handling and being able to track all of the data and be able to have the data to make educated decisions about how to move your business forward. Like it's all of that. It's tech accountability. It's being able to forecast chemical usage. Like all of those things are healthy things to implement if you're trying to build a business that is worth something.
Yeah, I agree. I think, in this day and age, if you're not using a software like Skimmer, there's so many aspects, layers that we talked about here, building a business to make it sellable, maybe someone calling you to buy your business, the customer facing end of it. Hey, this guy is calling me for the credit card, or he's sending me this invoice that's looks like, it was from the 1980s, It's one of those things where, the first person I started working for, I'll date myself. I started in 1988 and he used these carbon copy things. I don't know if you remember these things, but they're like
Yeah,
a little.
that's how I invoiced back in the day. Yeah.
And so by the time you get to the third sheet, it was like an illegible pink with like the barely legible whatever's left on there. You would tear that off and hand it to the customer. And, if you're still doing that nowadays, I really think you're going to lose out because the generation, and I really believe that the pool industry is gearing down towards a younger generation of pool pros that are more tech savvy, more advanced. So if you're an older person trying to compete, you really need to jump on board and start utilizing some of these tools. And I think having someone answer the phone is key to business. And as we mentioned, the first one that gets the response is the one that wins. And it's one of those things where if this is available to you, why not use it? What's the hesitation? It's the software is paid for by one customer basically, and if you do the math, it's definitely worth it. So, I guess we can end here. The last thought would be, why is there any hesitation to jump on board and use software? Have you run into people that are hesitant out there?
Fear of the unknown. That's it. Fear of change. There's a lot of people who are just comfortable doing what they're doing, but the world is changing, right? Like you said, the cohort of pool owners is getting younger. The people who are writing checks are kind of becoming fewer and fewer in number. And if you want to get your business organized, if you want to have, really good intelligence around your day-to-day operations and put systems in place that are scalable and repeatable so that you have less stress and you can spend more time with your family, like get some software, get Skimmer.
Yeah, good point. Well, thank you for your time today. I think it's very educational for the pool pros. We covered a lot of topics, not just talking about the software, but things that are relevant to the pro out there in this kind of changing AI era. And I really think AI is a great tool. And the fact that Skimmer is implementing it, I think Hal mentioned that there's so many new things coming out that you can't even keep track of them, is a great thing for the industry.
Yeah, there's more to come. This is just our first AI offer, but there is definitely more to come. And I'll drop your link for you if you want to take advantage of David's 30-day free trial offer. It's getskimmer.com/poolguy, and you can get a 30-day free trial courtesy of David Van Brent.
Well, thank you for that. Thank you, Hal.
David, thanks so much, man.
And if you would like to try Skimmer for free for 30 days, simply go to my website, swimmingpoollearning.com. Click on the Skimmer banner that's on the homepage there, and then you can try Skimmer for 30 days for free. If you're looking for other podcasts, go to that same website. On the banner, click on the podcast icon. There'll be a drop-down menu over 1,900 podcasts there for you to listen to at your leisure. And if you're interested in the coaching program that I offer, you can learn more at poolguycoaching.com. Thanks for listening to this podcast. Have a great rest of your week, and God bless. This episode is brought to you by Acosta, providing products that deliver clean, healthy water for every aspect of everyday life. The bottom feeder battery-powered vacuum system, portable, powerful, and only weighs 12 pounds. And Skimmer. Get Skimmer, America's #1 pool service software. Podcast listeners can try Skimmer for free at getskimmer.com/poolguy.